Let us chime ourselves in. And don't allow the eyes to close, allow yourself to settle in. Just do a little centering, make any movements that you need to feel comfortable here. And see if you can draw the shoulders back in line with the hips. Find a little neutral spine. Maybe even draw the chin slightly back so your ears and shoulders are in line. And then take a nice deep inhale. And sigh it out. Feeling good that you made it to Thursday. It's that Yin happy hour. And then just start to scan over the body, check in. Notice those sensations. We're going to be mentioning that word a lot, the word of sensations today in our practice. Just really noticing and tuning into those sensations. Today I won't be playing any music, so there might be some times when it's a bit quiet. So don't worry if you hear quiet for more than a minute, unless I say something, you might be frozen or I might be frozen for you. But otherwise, just drop into those sensations today. If you would rather play music in your own home, you're more than welcome to. But see if maybe today you can just drop into that sensation of silence and allow yourself to be with yourself in your atmosphere that you're in. Not saying that that might not be very silent. Once you scan the body, check in mentally, acknowledging what type of week it's been, what type of day it's been. Then take another deep inhale. And let that go. Dropping in a little bit more into the present moment. Just noticing those sensations of how your body's contacting the floor or the cushion under you. How your hands are contacting your legs, those sensations. The sensations of your eyes being closed. Are they soft, tight, in between? And just notice the sensation of breathing. As you start to just notice those sensations, I'm going to read you our little quote of the day. This quote of the day is from the Dalai Lama. I think when tragic things happen, it is on the surface, like an ocean. On the surface, a wave comes, and sometimes the wave is very serious and strong. But it comes and it goes, it comes and it goes, and underneath the ocean, it always remains calm. So thinking of relating that into your practice today, you're going to start to settle in. So you're going to try to find that calmness, that stillness in these poses. At the beginning, you're going to want to fidget and this and that, and then your body will become still. But then your mind will start to have those waves of wanting to fidget. And can you just tune into them, acknowledge them, let them go, and stay in that pose. Really tuning into the sensations of your body today. So start to set an intention around something of paying attention, building awareness, being present, whatever's going to suit your purpose of getting to your mat today. And bring that to your mind's eye. And holding that in your mind's eye, bring your hands to your heart center. We'll set that intention with either one om or a sigh of the breath, your choice. Exhale fully. Take a nice full inhale. And then keeping the eyes closed, allow those hands to settle back onto the thighs. Readjust your posture so the spine is in a nice neutral position, the head slightly drawn back. And you can keep the eyes closed or just partly open them and gaze down in front of you. We're going to start off with a little bit of a shamatha. meditation. So shamatha meaning directed pointedness. So I'm going to guide you to bring your breathing, your equal parts breathing, to 3 different places in your body. So just right now, just notice your breath. Start to inhale and exhale a little deeper. Not too deep, no need to engage any ujjayi breath, just deep breaths. Maybe inhale 3, exhale 3. And then start to bring that awareness to the tip of your nose, to the nostrils. Notice if you can notice those sensations of the air entering the nose and leaving the nose. If your mind wanders away from that sensation, bring it back, allowing yourself to be fully aware of the tip of the nose. And then start to bring your awareness to that space just between your belly button and your pubic bone. So right in that lower belly. As you breathe, just bring the sensation to that area. Maybe even from the beginning of your belly, the front of your belly, toward your spine, finding a little center space in between those areas that you can feel yourself breathe there. And this one might be a little bit more challenging than the tip of the nose. There's a little less sensation there. Just working on building that awareness of sensation. Can you notice that sensation in that area, that directed, that pointed area? And then start to bring your awareness to your whole body as you breathe. Can you imagine on your inhales, your whole body is breathing in? And as you exhale, your whole body is exhaling. Can you notice that? You might even notice some sensations that go along with that. As you continue your normal breath, but just imagining your whole body breathing. What happens on those inhales, what happens on the exhales, is what you're noticing, those sensations. After your last cycle of breath here, allow your breath to come back to normal. Allow yourself to settle into your seat for a few moments here, just normal breath. And then slowly allow those eyes to blink open. And then from here, we're going to transition onto our bellies. So coming into Sphinx pose. So go ahead and roll yourself forward onto your belly. You have the option, depending on how your back is feeling, you can put a bolster down underneath your elbows straight away, or a blanket. So if you want a little bit more sensation, your elbows will be on a bolster, a blanket. That's just going to lift you up a little bit more. And then you're going to lengthen those legs out, draw them out toward the corners of your mat. Kind of wiggle those legs back and forth and find that first edge, right? So your legs are relaxed. You're finding that sensation in the low back. And if this is too much for you, you can always walk your hands out and bring your elbows forward and rest your head on your forearms. So this is another beginning spot to start, depending on how your back is feeling. But then just settle into that first edge. So you're gonna find that first edge and then find that calm, find that stillness in your body. Just notice what happens as you breathe into that sensation. As you settle into the stillness, and then we'll stay here for a while. Our poses today will be about 4 minutes each. So you're not going for the deepest stretch, the deepest sensation. You're just going right to the edge, peeking at that edge, and then maybe backing off. As you stay here, you might want more intensity, and you can increase that intensity as you like. Either lifting the elbows up a little bit higher on the bolster, or maybe even just rolling the shoulders back and lifting the chin rather than letting it drop. But can you keep the muscular engagement of your legs, of those muscles in the legs? Can you keep them unengaged? So they're very passive. Just notice those sensations that are happening in the mid and low back, maybe even in the shoulders. We're about halfway through our time. For those that feel like maybe they want a little bit more sensation, maybe you start to bend the knees and let those big toes touch while your knees are bent and your heels come toward your glutes. But then notice if you're gripping your booty, your glutes, can you relax them? Again, this is just going to create more sensation. So if it's too much, you can always go back to the first position. Your forehead can either rest in your hands or maybe on a block or a pillow if it's not already, if your head starts to feel heavy and you feel tension in your neck. Or if it feels okay for your neck and your neck is feeling good, maybe this last minute you let that chin drop toward your chest and let go of that engagement in the neck and start to feel that stretch along the spine. If this bothers your neck, please rest your head on something. We have a few more cycles of breath here. Dropping into the sensations of your breath in the body. Taking a nice deep inhale here. And sigh it out. If your legs are bent, go ahead and release them back out. And then slowly extend those arms down. So you're going to rest your forehead on your hands. Pause there for a moment. Adjust as needed to get anything out of the way. And then turning your head to one side. Resting your ear on your hands and then bending that same knee out to the side. So a little counter pose here, half frog. Just taking a few breaths here, noticing the effects of that pose in the body. Noticing the sensations that are happening now in the time when it's going to rest from that pose. It's called the rebound of the pose in Yin. And then slowly slide that left leg down. Bring your head all the way to the other side, right or left side, and then bend the opposite knee. So that same direction you're looking, bending that knee out to the side. And just pausing there, take a few breaths. And then taking that leg, extending it out, bring your head to center. Bring your hands by your side. You're gonna press yourself up to all fours. Resist the urge to do child's pose. Yeah, we will get there. We're gonna do 3 different variations for the spine. So go ahead and sit back on your heels or on your feet. This next one, we're gonna do a straddle pose. So you have the option of putting maybe a bolster or some blankets back behind you. I like to sit on a blanket for this one just to help my shins. So you have the option of sitting on your heels. If it's comfortable for you to split your heels and maybe sit on a blanket or a pillow, you can do that, or a block. I'm gonna recline, and then I'm gonna have my chest back on a block because I can't go all the way down. So again, this is gonna affect the low back a little bit. It's definitely gonna get into the hips because we have a little internal rotation here. Maybe you just stay here and you lean back into your hands. Maybe this is your pose today, right? So the first position is here. If your feet are on a bolster or a block between your feet, you can probably go down to your elbows, right? If you're not all the way on the ground, I don't recommend going further unless you're comfortable with that pressure on your feet. So again, this might feel a little bit in the shoulders, in the hip, in the low back, because we're putting that pressure in the low back. We're taking our spine and we're extending it back. And again, your head can be forward. If it feels good, you can drop it back. If I'm up on my elbows, I tend to bring my chest more forward, or my chin more forward. I'm just gonna settle in, and I just have that block and behind me for when I feel comfortable to recline. If I feel comfortable, every day is different. But settle into that stillness, wherever you are. Try to relax the thighs. The knees might even spread apart, totally fine. If this causes some sensation in your knees that you do not like, you can return to the Sphinx pose, or you can even do puppy pose, similar to what we do in normal class. That's going to get the similar sensations in the back. Just kind of notice what's happening with the sensations in the body. As that edge dissipates, creating a new edge by deepening into the pose, whatever's going to be best for you. No rush. Just noticing what happens as you breathe a little deeper. Maybe that triggers your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, to allow those muscles to relax, to allow you to stay a little bit longer. To find that calm not only in the body, but in the mind. We're about halfway through the pose here. Just kind of noticing where you are at the edge of your sensation. And depending on your body, your sensation may be less in your low back here. It might be more in the hips. It might be in the ankles. It might be in the knees. So just be mindful if there's no pain, there's no numbness, there's no stabbing sensation. If there's a little bit of a stretch or a pressure, that's an okay sensation. As long as there's nothing that feels sharp, tingly, or numbing. If those sensations start to occur, start to bring yourself out of the pose, maybe adjust, and then bring yourself back in slowly. If at any time the pose feels like it's not benefiting you, you always have the option to sit up and just take a pause there. Just a few more cycles of breath, noticing those sensations here. For the last 30 seconds, if you're all the way reclined on the floor and you feel like you want more sensation, you can always take those arms back overhead, interlink opposite hands and elbows to deepen that edge. Do so mindfully, but only if you're all the way on the floor. And take a nice deep inhale here. And side out. Ever so mindfully and very slowly start to bring yourself up. If you're laying back, maybe elbows to the ground, propping yourself up on elbows first. And then start to lengthen up. Coming all the way up, rolling to one side, taking both legs out in front. And then just pausing there. Going nice and slow, no rush. Just noticing those effects. Pausing there. Noticing the rebound of the pose. And then maybe if it feels good, maybe rock the legs from side to side. Maybe point and flex through those feet because we had a lot of extension in the front of our foot there. And then once again, we're going to return to our bellies. So we're going to go into seal pose. So if you like the posture, if you have a strap and you want to take the strap and you want to put it around yourself, so around your armpits, and then loop it around the ends of your feet, you have that option. So that's just a little different option to where you know that you can release your legs a little bit more. But otherwise, you're going to return to your belly. And we're going to go a little bit into seal. If you know that for seal pose, it's not going to work for your back, stay in Sphinx pose. You'll just do Sphinx pose again, so you get extra time into that low back. And if it's too much in your low back right now, you can take child's pose, right? You can hold in child's pose for the next few moments. We will go child's pose after this. So I'm going to start with my elbows on the little bolster. I'm going to lengthen my legs back. So if you have the strap, you'll strap it up. Your knees will be bent. So this is where we're going to start. Notice those sensations, right? So we're working a lot into that low back today, into the spine. And from here, can you press into the elbows to lift the chest, right? So you're using a little bit of energy with those elbows, drawing those shoulder heads back, trying to stack maybe those shoulder heads right over the elbows. And so your chin is more lifted. So you are using a little bit of engagement of the spine. We're just breathing here, coming back to this sensation. And again, anytime you can go to any previous version of this, you can even go all the way to the floor and do the half frog. And then rotate with that with the time. And then from here, you're going to take your hands wide if it feels good. You're going to take your hands wide, maybe even off your mat, maybe just your thumb pad is on the mat. And bring your hands forward. And then just kind of draw those shoulder heads down. And then lift the chest and relax the glutes. It's a little bit of a baby seal, right? So your hands are wide and extended out long. And again, if this is too much for your back right now, remember you can go into Sphinx pose and pause there. If you feel this is too much pressure on your pubic bone, right, you can pad that area, you can lift your hips lightly so that area isn't pressing into the floor. But once you're here, see if you can find some stillness, find that calmness of the mind. And then just check in with your glutes. Like they're going to be a little bit engaged, that booty's going to want to squeeze. See if you can relax it and continue to breathe. For some of you, you may have a little bit more accessibility here. You're going to narrow your hands. I'm only going to be here for a moment, but you're going to narrow your hands, walk them in, so maybe that bolster moves out of the way, and press into the hands for a deeper. So you're going to really rotate those the eyes of your elbows, those creases of your elbows forward, and hang out in your hands, right? And then try to relax the glutes. This for me is too much, so I know I'm going to come back to that more baby seal. That's where I'm going to be. And it's nice, I now have this blanket under my chest, so that feels good for support. So that might feel good for you if you're feeling this is a lot. Maybe you pull that bolster up underneath your sternum, under your low ribs. We have about 1 more minute here. So can you find some stillness wherever you are? Just making sure you're not going too far over the edge. It's never fun to fall over an edge. You're going to come right up to it, play with that edge, and breathe into it. And again, these last few seconds, maybe you decide, do you want to keep your head up, or do you want to start to bring that chin down, feeling that spine from the base of your skull down into your mid-back. Couple more rounds of breath here. And then take a nice deep inhale. And side out. Lifting the chin if it's down, and then ever so slowly bringing those elbows back to the floor. Taking that bolster out of the way. Laying down, resting your forehead on your hands just for a moment. Returning to the floor. Notice that sensation. Maybe rock the hips a little bit from side to side. Breathe deeply into that mid-back. And then lift the head, slide the hands back by your chest, press yourself back, hands and knees. And then we're going to come into child's pose. So you get a nice long child's pose if you want to sit on something, if you want to lengthen your belly over something, rest your forehead on something, go slowly. At the beginning, it's going to be tight, so don't expect it to be what it normally is. And just let yourself completely round forward. Arms can reach forward if that feels good, or maybe because we had a lot of pressure on our shoulders, maybe it feels better to take those hands back by your feet and let your head rest on a block or a blanket. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes, just counterbalancing what we just did. See if you can settle into some stillness here. Breathing into that sensation of the low back. Noticing the sensations in the hips here. And the shoulders. And you let go of any muscle energy that you have going. Any contractions, any holding on. Can you let that go? About 1 more minute here. If you want to change the positions of your arms, you can do that, or if you need to or want to go higher or lower with the head. Letting that spine just do what it needs to do to counteract what we just did. Noticing if you can take that pointed awareness of your breath and direct it to the back side of your body. specifically to that upper back, to that low back. Take a nice deep inhale here. And let it go. Bring those hands so they're about in line with the shoulders, and then slowly press yourself up. Walking those hands forward, and then come to seated. You're going to take those legs out in front of you and pause for a moment. If you need to sit up on anything, if your hips tend to tilt backwards, so your pelvis tilts posterior instead of going forward, prop yourself up so that those hips can kind of come forward so you can help gravity take you forward in these next few poses. So this next pose, you might want some pillows around to put under your thighs as you fold forward. But we're going to start with our legs. We're going to bring them kind of into that long-legged butterfly just for a moment. And then you're going to take your right leg and you're going to extend it out slightly to the side. So we're kind of coming into a half butterfly. So now you can adjust this left leg any way that you'd like. You can bring it in a little closer. You can bring it out farther, whatever you need to feel comfort in that knee so you can relax your leg. If it's not quite comfortable to relax completely, you can take a pillow and place it underneath because we want to get into those sensations into our hips, into our groin, and into the low back. So then just from here, you're just going to start to lean forward. Have your right leg lax, right? So we're not pulling the toes back. Our toes are kind of dropping out to the side. And you're just folding forward. As you lengthen forward, let that spine round. So this isn't that nice long spine that we have. We're letting ourselves round into the spine. Lengthening forward. But try to keep the pelvis coming forward. So you're getting that length along those ligaments and fascia on the inside of that right leg. Maybe into the outer left hip. Since you have options with your head, if you have blocks, maybe you prop your head up on a block and a fist. Whatever's going to be best for you and your spine here. So we're working into the hips, into the groins, into the spine here. Just noticing those sensations as we start to find some stillness here. So you have the option, if this is feeling good, you can stay here. If you would like to add on just a little bit, you're going to walk your hands toward that extended leg and then pause. So now you're going to start to feel a little bit more into that outer left hip. Again, you're not going for the stretch that we normally would in a class. You're just kind of rounding forward, allowing yourself to get into that connective tissue, that fascia that wraps around. We're not really worried about shoulder square or anything. You're just going to feel that sensation edge and then breathing into it. So you may not even make it all the way toward your leg, like I'm more open between my bottom foot and my right leg. That's where I feel the edge, and that's where I'm going to pause. Just notice if you're holding any tension in the jaw or the shoulders. Can you let that go? And again, you have options for your head. If it's getting closer down toward the floor, maybe it rests on a block or a fist in a block. Our head is heavy, so our neck works a lot to keep it up. So anytime you can rest your neck, that's a good thing in yin. Just a few more rounds of breath here. For people that might want a little bit more intensity in that outer hip, if that sensation's kind of dissipated, you can drop your right shoulder and maybe drape your left arm over the top of your head. So you're feeling that stretch a little bit more, but if that's too intense and you notice you're gripping or holding your breath, just bring that left hand back down to the floor. Remember, it's not a big, huge stretch. It's just finding that little edge to where you can hang out without engaging the muscles. And then allowing yourself to settle in with your breath. Take a nice deep inhale here. And sigh it out. Slowly lift and roll the spine up. So draw the chest in, chin is going to come up last. Back to neutral. And then to take that left knee, help it up, extend it out. And then pause there. Oh, it's okay to make noises. I'm going to make noises, so hopefully you are too. I just can't hear you. And again, taking any motions you need to feel comfortable or feel the effects of that rebound. Sometimes it's stillness. Sometimes our body's ready to move. So just listen to your body and what it feels. There is no wrong or right. Maybe even leaning back into it, opening up the front of the chest. And then when you're ready and when you're comfortable, you'll come into that long-legged butterfly again. So it's not super close. It's a little bit longer of the legs. And then you're going to take your left leg kind of out to the side. And then again, adjust this right leg, whatever's going to feel best for you. Maybe bring it in a little bit, maybe out, whatever's going to feel best to you. Have anything you need to under the knee so that your knee is feeling supported, so no knee pain here. Let's see if you can relax that leg. And then making sure your pelvis is tilting forward, so you might need to prop yourself up on something here. Relax that right leg, and then start to lengthen forward. Any little bit, find that first edge and just pause. Just notice what might be similar to the other side. And then notice what might be different. Right? We may think we're symmetrical in our bodies, but we're not. You know, we have a dominant hand and a non-dominant hand. Same goes with our legs. So a lot of our body is not symmetrical, even though it looks like it. So we have different tightness in different areas. So try not to have expectations, as I continuously tell you a lot, I'm sure, that each of your sides is going to be different. So no shoulds, woulds, or coulds. Just settle in and just notice those differences. Building that awareness of what your body can do, and then celebrating what each side can do. Knowing where you might need to hold longer, where you might need to breathe more, or you might even need to strengthen eventually. As you all know, yoga is a journey. So there's little steps in the path, and this yin is a great complement to the yang or the flow that we do. Really allowing you to feel into your body, slow it down, and just notice those little tiny things that are happening in the body. So you can either stay here, or if it's comfortable for you, start to rotate your torso, your chest toward that extended leg, and start to lengthen down that way. And again, find that first edge so you're feeling that outer hip maybe. And if this feels not right on this side, something doesn't feel right, that numbness or tingling, just come back to the center again. And as you start to settle in, can you start to round the spine more? And can you relax that head? Notice if you're gripping in that right side, can you relax it? And can you relax the left leg? So it might seem like we're getting into our hamstring because our leg is out, and maybe you are. But it could be that you're feeling it more in that right hip and the low back. It might feel that you're feeling it on that right side of your body, where the connective tissue is wrapping around your muscles. If you're feeling like you want a little bit more of an edge on that right side, and that edge is dissipated, that right arm can come over your head, bend your elbow, and just rest that on your head, and let that arm lift up. And again, just notice if you're gripping your breath, if you're trying too hard to stretch rather than just hang out, and back off. Maybe even that hand has to come back down toward the floor, and your chest rounds more toward the leg, the extended leg. Just have a few more cycles of breath here. Take a nice deep inhale here. And let it go. Slowly draw the spine up one vertebra at a time, letting that head come up lax. And then slowly extending those legs and arms out, or sorry, your legs out, your arms are already up. Out to center, help that knee up, going slowly. And then taking any motions that you need to, make it organic, make it feel good. Maybe stillness is what you need. So this is a great segue into finding those inner groins again. So we're gonna go into straddle pose. If straddle pose is gonna be a little too intense for your hamstrings or your low back, you can go into long-legged butterfly. So from here, we're going into ideally straddle pose. So legs are gonna go wide. And again, you want your pelvis not to tip back, so you're leaning back. You want your pelvis to tip forward, so you might need to sit up on something. And then try to relax your legs. So you're not going super, super wide. You're just going wide enough so that you can still have gravity take you forward, right? And if this isn't gonna feel good to you, like I said, you can do long-legged butterfly, so that's both legs in, same idea, but there's less hamstrings going on. And then start to lengthen forward. Find that first edge. Have any props that you might need to out front to help you here. I find I like to rest my forehead on my blocks. And just let that spine round. So you're coming forward, but the pelvis might tilt back a little bit. You just want to originally bring it forward first so that you're not just lengthening back and you're struggling to hold here. Let those shoulders round forward slightly. See if you can relax the legs. Just really tapping into the sensations along the spine here. And this is one, if you're a little bit more, you have a little bit more mobility, you're gonna find your edge and it's gonna dissipate a little faster, so you can continue to lengthen out. But remember, you're just coming to that slight part of your edge, right? That might be the compression at the hamstring insertion behind the knee. You might be feeling that. You might feel the hamstring insertion right there at your sits bones, right? Those little bony protrusions underneath you right now. Or maybe you're feeling it along the low back, that connected tissue that runs along the low back into the sacrum. Just kind of notice where those sensations are happening. Just settle in there. Maybe the chin starts to drop more toward the chest, so you're getting that whole spinal column a little length. So you're forward folding, but you're finding the extension and flexion along the spine. Continue to notice how your breath affects the pose. Just take a quick scan over the body, especially into those legs. Notice if you're gripping with your muscles. And can you let those relax? That might mean you need to come out of the pose just a little. We're getting into those connective tissues rather than our muscles here. Just a few more rounds of breath. Take a nice deep inhale here. And side out. Keeping the chin heavy, slowly walk the hands back, curling that spine up nice and slow. Letting your head be the last thing to lift. And then maybe grabbing behind those knees, drawing the knees up, bringing those legs forward. Pausing there, maybe even leaning back to open the chest. Maybe windshield wiper the legs to the left and the right if that feels good. Maybe legs out straight and windshield wipering them that way feels good. Whatever feels best in your body. Maybe even circles with the ankles. Then one more forward fold here. So we've done wide legs, got into those inner groins and outer hips. Now we're going to go straight legs, so straight forward, so caterpillar. So like our forward fold. So again, when you're ready, go ahead and sit yourself up so that your pelvis tilts forward. And your feet don't have to be totally together. They don't even need to be hip distance. They can be a little bit wider, especially if you're a little bit more flexible and your chest can come and touch your legs. You might want it to go between your legs, right? So you want to give yourself that edge that you deserve, right? You can even start by bending your knees. If you find this is too much on your hamstrings behind you, you can always take your bolster or your blanket and slide that underneath your legs so they have a little bit of bend into them so that you're able to tilt forward to be able to lengthen out. So start to lengthen forward, finding that first edge. Lengthening out, rounding forward. Hands can be in front of you, they can be behind you, they can be to the side of you, whatever's going to feel best for your arms. But finding that first edge, try to relax the legs, try to relax the feet, and settle into that first edge. And I'm just going to turn myself sideways, stay where you are, just because The hard floor hurts my heels. And continue to round. And again, you can always rest your head on something, or if you feel comfortable in your neck, you can let that head drop down, chin to chest. So you're going to definitely feel a little bit more into that mid-thoracic spine, right there along your ribs. You're going to feel a little bit of a stretch there if you let your head hang down. Not only does it let those muscles relax as we round forward, because we sit up nice and straight all day and those erector spinae muscles hold us up, but then it allows that connective tissue that wraps around those to become more lubricated to help those muscles work a little bit better. Helps us become less rigid in our spine. Notice if you're gripping anywhere, and can you relax that, especially in the jaw. Noticing the sensations all the way down from the back of the pelvis, that sacral area, up through the spine, maybe in the hips, all the way to the base of the skull. Just notice those sensations, bring your awareness to those sensations right now. And then start to bring your awareness to the sensations that are happening in the legs. Maybe the hip creases, behind the knees, maybe into the feet. Just noticing those sensations. For those that maybe find it hard or they're struggling to keep themselves from engaging their muscles, you can always slide pillows, bolsters, blankets under the chest. And that's just going to help you have something to rest on so that you can get into that back a little bit more, into the spine. So that is an option for you. Sorry, I didn't mention it earlier. Hopefully you remembered from previous classes. Just a few more rounds of breath here. Can you find complete stillness and really noticing those sensations that are happening in the body? Taking a nice deep inhale here. And let it go. Sliding the hands back by the shoulders and then slowly bringing that spine up ever so slowly. Letting that head come up last. Just pausing there. Notice the effects of that pose. No rush to move quickly. But if you feel like you need to move in this pose, go ahead and do any movements that feel good. We've done a lot of forward bending, so maybe leaning back feels good to you. And rocking those legs from side to side, either knees bent or legs straight. Maybe both knees knocking in. Whatever is going to feel best to you. Maybe even lifting the chin up. Finding a little bit of extension of the spine. And then we're going to transition onto our backs. So coming onto your backs. We're going to come into a twist. So you have option. Once you get to the floor, just pause. Just kind of notice where you are on the floor. If there's any hair bands in your hair preventing the back of your head from being on the floor, go ahead and remove those. If you need some padding under your hips, you can do that a little bit. But just pause here. Noticing what it feels like to be on the floor. Tuning into your breath. So we're gonna go into one form of a twist. If later you want to go a little bit deeper, you have that option. So from here, you're gonna roll yourself over onto your left side. So roll all the way over onto your left side. If you wanna do your right side first, you can, if it's easier for you to look. We'll roll all the way over onto your left side. You're gonna make your knees and hips in line with one another, your hips and shoulders in line, and then your knees and your ankles in line. So it's like you're laying in a chair. And you might notice that you might need some padding underneath your top knee, totally fine, or maybe your bottom knee. And then from here, you might need some pillow or padding behind you up on your back behind you. So you might have something there. Take your left arm, bring it out, or sorry, your arm that you're laying on, left or right, bring it out in front of you where you're looking at it. And then you're just gonna take that top arm. You're going to reach your top arm past, you're gonna lengthen past your bottom arm, so you're extending that arm out, and then open it up to the chest, reaching up to the sky. And then you're gonna notice you're gonna find some resistance, right? So you have that resistance there. Use anything you need behind you to prop yourself up. And finding that twist in the upper back. Right, so you might need to bend your elbow to begin. You might even need to rest your hand on your ribs. So you're not getting into that pinchiness of the shoulder or the elbow. So you're gonna feel this along the spine, into the hip, maybe into the top knee. And as your spine relaxes, as that connective tissue expands a little, you might be able to play with that right or that top arm extending out. I just say right because it's my right arm now. Maybe it rests on a pillow, maybe it rests on a bolster. But again, just paying attention to notice if you have any of those tingling sensations in the hands, any pins and needles. That just means that you're pinching the nerve that runs along the arm, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to create nerve damage. So you can either play with your arm, bringing your arm down more by your side, or once again, bringing that hand to your ribs, those top ribs. Just notice what's happening with the breath here. You have the option to start to look over the opposite shoulder from where your knees are. Or you can continue to look straight ahead. Maybe it even feels good for you today to look toward the direction your knees are facing, depending on how tight your neck is. But again, can you let go of any muscle engagement? That sometimes you need to let go of the legs. The knees don't need to stay stacked. It's just for our starting point. And then for some of you, your edge might have dissipated here and you want to go a little bit deeper. You're just gonna slightly lift your top leg and take that bottom leg and straighten it out toward the end of your mat. And then let that right leg drop back down. Now this might be too much of a sensation on the top leg, so you might need a bolster or a block under your top leg calf, not under necessarily the knee, but the calf feels like it supports a little bit better. And then settle in there. If you notice this is too much, just go back to 2 knees. About 1 more minute here. Settling into those sensations through the spine, the hips, maybe all the way up into the head. Few more rounds of breath here, trying to let go energetically of those muscles. Feeling that connective tissue stretch as you inhale and allowing you to deepen as you exhale. And then take a nice deep inhale and sigh it out. Good. As you come back, if you've extended that bottom leg, start to bend that bottom knee. And then slowly taking that top hand, bring your top hand to your ribs. And then roll yourself over, reaching that right arm back over to the left, or your top arm to your bottom arm. And then bend your elbow, pause there on your side using your arms as a pillow. Just pause there for a moment, no rush. And then as you're ready, start to draw yourself back onto your back. Once you're on your back, pause. Just pausing there, notice the rebound of the pose. Legs can go out straight like Savasana. Maybe they stay bent. Whatever's going to feel best for you. Sorry, I'm just walking out. It's Thursday night. Happy hour for my husband. He's enjoying his music. And then we'll go to the other side. So starting from there, I'm just going to turn myself around so I can continue to face you. But you're just going to roll to the opposite side, roll all the way onto your arm. Bend your knees so that your knees and hips are in line, your ankles and knees are in line, and your shoulders and hips are in line. And then just notice if you need any padding underneath your top knee. And then take your bottom arm, extend it out so it's equal with your shoulder so you're looking at it. And then take that top arm, extend it out past so you're lengthening out. And then lift that arm up and back over to the other side as your head drops and your chest opens to the ceiling. And again, just notice if you need anything behind you here to support your back to begin. Maybe this side's a little bit more open. Maybe this is a tighter side and you need to bend your elbow and your hand comes to your ribs to start. And again, your legs are going to relax, so your knees are going to slide away from one another. You're just going to settle in here, finding that first edge. Just notice what's happening, those sensations, maybe through the neck, the shoulders, maybe into the elbow and wrist here. Maybe propping the arm on a pillow or a blanket. You can extend the arm out to the side a little bit more, that top arm. Just notice if you're gripping in the legs, trying to squeeze those thighs together, let those legs relax. And just settle into your stillness. Settle into the sensations that are happening. Really notice each of those sensations. Again, if you find any numbness, tingling, or pins and needles in that top hand that's extended out, just bend the elbow, bring it back. You don't want to pinch into that nerve. You want to make sure that you're keeping that happy, not aggravating it. Just check in with your neck here. Does it feel best to look toward the way your knees are looking? Toward the ceiling? Or toward that top hand, the one that's opened out behind you? If this is feeling good here, go ahead and stay here. Doesn't matter what you did on the other side, but if this feels good and you're at your edge, stay here. But if you want to go and find a new edge, you can take that bottom leg and start to extend it toward the floor. And let that left knee drop down. And if it's too much on the top of the hip there, you're going to take that top leg and rest it on a block. So the calf might rest on a block. And then again, settle into stillness. Maybe that top shoulder is able to drop down a little bit without any bolsters. And then just settle in here. Finding that stillness, not only of the body, but also the mind. Tuning into those areas of large sensation. Making sure you're staying at your edge and not going over. Allowing the breath to wash over you and allow you to drop in deeper. Just a few more rounds of breath here. And taking a nice deep inhale here. And let it go. If you've extended that bottom leg, start to draw it up toward the top leg. And then start to take that top hand, bend the hand, bring it to the ribs. If it's not there already, start to roll toward the direction of your knees. Bring both hands toward one another, then bend the elbows and rest your head in those hands, pausing there on your side. And then when you're ready, mindfully and slowly roll onto your back. Pausing there. Noticing the effects of the pose. Allowing yourself to find the rebound of the pose. And then starting to settle into Savasana here. Take any movements you might need to first, maybe windshield wiper the legs. Maybe find a big stretch, maybe even a yawn. Lengthening out, reaching back. Whatever movements you might need, whatever props you might need for your body, so that you can rest comfortably, maybe covering the eyes, covering the body, whatever's going to help you surrender here just for a few moments. We'll be here about 3 or 4 minutes. Let yourself settle in. Get out any little wiggles. Take a moment, slide those shoulder blades underneath you, but then take your shoulders and draw your shoulders up toward the ceiling, and then let your shoulders drop down. So your shoulder tips are still in, but your tops of your shoulder blades are out a little bit. That might find a little bit more openness for your chest, but relaxing for the body, especially that upper back. And then exhale fully here. Take a nice full inhale, fill the ribs, the chest, the belly. And then sigh it out, allowing yourself to surrender here into stillness of the body, the mind, allowing only the breath to move through you. I'll bring us out of Shavasana with 3 bells. Take rest. Feel free to stay here longer if it feels good to you. Otherwise, allow your breath to deepen. On your next breath, bring some gentle movements into the fingers, the toes, maybe even the wrists and ankles. Maybe taking some ankle circles and some wrist circles both directions. And then once again, reach the arms back behind the head, slide the feet together, give yourself a long stretch again, maybe even a yawn. And then bending the knees when you're ready, your choice, either hug the knees into the chest or maybe windshield wiper those legs from side to side, pausing if you need to. Just taking your time here. And then kind of check in with where you are, mentally, physically, and just kind of notice your energy level. And then check in with what you have coming ahead in your evening. If you don't need so much energy and you'd like to keep this lower energy vibe, you're gonna roll over to your right side so that your left side is on top. If you feel like you need a little bit more energy tonight, you need to start moving a little bit more. You're gonna roll to your left side, so your right side is on top. So whatever you feel you need, go ahead and roll to your side and pause. Let your arm be a pillow. Just pausing in there. And with your left side on top, that's the calming side, the quieter side. And that's just going to keep you more calm. With the right side on top, that's a little bit more energetic side, the warmer side. So the yin to the yang to the yin. Just pausing here, just noticing the effects and coming back to our little quote from the Dalai Lama. I think when tragic things happen, it is on the surface. It is like the ocean. On the surface, a wave comes, and sometimes the wave is very serious and strong. It comes, it goes, it comes and goes. And underneath the ocean always remains calm. So keeping that calmness in you, slowly and mindfully press yourself up to seated. Find a comfortable seat for you, whatever that means. Allow the hands to rest at your heart center. Just allow yourself to come into the room, onto your mat, into your body. Connecting with that intention, that purpose for bringing yourself to your mat tonight. And allowing the strength, the energy, and that slow calmness of this practice help you as you transition off your mat into your evening ahead. We'll seal everything in with one final om or sigh of the breath. Exhale fully. Take a nice full inhale. Bowing your head slightly. Take a moment. Think of one thing in your life that you truly are grateful for today. Holding on to that image in your mind's eye as you raise your head with a smile. Thank you for taking time and joining me for this Yin happy hour. Drink lots of water, eat your veggies, wear sunblock. Namaste.